Hi all, welcome back to the final whistle. It's match preview night then, another game, and the Foxes this time take on the Lions. Millwall come to the King Power Stadium for the midweek Wednesday night fixture as the league leaders look to make it 3 wins from 3. The Foxes, of course, are in some decent form. Millwall, on the other hand, I mean, we're going to be talking with Dan Sexton about the Lions. We're going to get his views on Millwall and, yeah, get your comments in, get involved. Let me know what you think is going to happen in tomorrow's game. A lot to get through, of course. And, yeah, a lot to talk about, as always. Sorry about the bloody internet connection. I don't know what's bloody happened. But, yeah, guys, always hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed already, please do so. It helps out massively. I'm going to be joined by Dan Sexton from that Millwall podcast. He's going to be giving me all the insights into the Lions and what the Foxes can expect from the Championship side. Let's get my guest in then, Mr. Dan Sexton. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Callum's in. How are you, Callum? Talk to me about Millwall then, mate.
It's been...
The opposition is the Lions. You still there, Dan?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, go for it. Oh.
Sorry about that, Dan, mate. A few technical bloody issues. Yeah, talk to me about Millwall then. Joe Edwards is your manager. Obviously, you had Gary Rowett at the start of the season. Talk to me how things went under Gary Rowett and how things started at Millwall to now.
I mean, Rowett was at the club for 4 years, which is a very long time in management. And I don't think many Millwall fans will tell you that he did a bad job. But it's just a case of he ran out of road. For some Leicester fans who might not have been aware, in the summer, our chairman, John Berylson, passed away in a car crash very unexpectedly. So I think that kind of changed maybe where the club was looking to do, because obviously we missed out on the playoffs in gutting circumstance on the final day of last season. There might have been a case of Rowett might have walked after that game. That was kind of the feeling, that he'd had a crack to get us in the playoffs, just wasn't able to do it. And I think a lot of us thought that was going to be it. And then we got the news. So I think he almost seemed to decide to stay just to help the club for a bit of continuity. But I think it's just got too much for him. I think he's realised he's ran out of road himself. And that's led us on to Joe Edwards, which is, in terms of a Millwall appointment, very different. We are always going usually for the experienced manager or someone that knows the club. Not like an up-and-coming head coach. Is probably very far out of Millwall's comfort zone to go for someone like Joe Edwards. In the first game, he won 4-0. I don't think we've won any. I know we haven't won our last 4 or 5 games. We haven't won since then. So we need to turn our results around at some point, because we are very nervously looking over our shoulders at the moment.
How has it gone from playoff hopefuls to bloody near the bottom? I mean, how has it transpired with Millwall? I mean, you talked about before the show, obviously the players being scared at playing at the Den. I mean, how is things like transpired like on the pitch?
I just think because of the Blackburn game on the final day where we missed out on the playoffs, the home form kind of in the build up to that one as well. We had some really poor results tail end of last season, and then we had our big game, our first home game of the season, the tribute to John Berylson, we lost all of them games, and we lost a lot of them in bad ways to lose games. Obviously, Blackburn being 3-1 up against Blackburn at half time to lose that game 4-3. The Bristol City game, which was the tribute to the chairman, going on to lose that game 1-0 in the 94th minute. So I just think the players have became a little bit scared of playing at the Den, to be completely honest. I think there's a bit of a psychological block there. It doesn't seem to be so much of a problem away from home. Away from home, we're actually about 7th or 8th in the away league. So it's very much our away form that's actually keeping us out of the relegation zone, which is almost unheard of, I think, for most Millwall fans, for it to be home form like at the bottom and away form pretty good. It's always the other way around.
Yeah, I would like to send our condolences, Dan, to the late chairman at Millwall. Our thoughts are obviously with him and with the family of John, which is obviously not nice, is it? Losing an owner. Obviously, we lost ours, obviously not long ago. So, yeah, football comes together at them sort of times, doesn't it? And it shows how much of a family football is. So,
100%, and I'm sure the thoughts of everyone from that Millwall podcast and Millwall were also with Leicester City Football Club at the time, and still with them because obviously. But I think there's one thing that's kind of linked, because it's still the club has still stayed within the family, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the same with us. So in our case, John Berylson's son has taken on the club. He's the new chairman.
It's good to see that they carry their legacy on, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's so much respect and love for that sort of thing.
100%. And James, his son, when he took over, said, my dad had the dream. He hasn't quite achieved it yet. Time for me to try and do it for him.
Yeah, same here with Top with his dad. How many tickets have Millwall sold? Do you know?
I think it's about 800, 850.
Yeah,
that's off the top of my head. That's what I heard. I don't know anything definite.
Terry likes to be curious about him sort of things. What was your expectations for the Lions at the start of the season? I mean, what sort of expectations did you have for Millwall? I mean, are they still the same? Have they changed? I mean, talk to me about it.
I think based on the last few seasons, it wasn't just last season. Since Rowett's came in, we've always kind of flirted with the playoffs. So I think the expectation was again this season to be able to have another strong season, kind of flirting with the playoffs and try and make it in, even Callum, to try and make it into the top 6 this season. But I think given the way the season's panning out, and now you kind of look at the teams that we're down there in the bottom with, Stoke have just sacked their manager. QPR seem to be getting their act together a little bit. Sheffield Wednesday seems to be getting their act together. Rotherham have just appointed a new manager. There's a chance that I might just at this point take a 21st place and run, to be completely honest, which is quite different to how I envisaged the season starting out. But I think with the way football's changing, in particular with the Championship, because obviously there's a big TV deal coming in next season, which is going to mean extra cash for the clubs. And for a club like Millwall, who aren't the wealthiest, that's going to be huge. So I think this might be a case of a season where we just need to do whatever's necessary to get above the dotted line.
Yeah, do you feel Joe Edwards can turn it around at Millwall? Then obviously it's not been the greatest of seasons. It's not been the greatest of run, has it, in the last couple of games? Is Joe Edwards the man, do you feel, to turn it around at the Den? Is he the man to stable the ship at the Den?
It's really hard to judge Joe Edwards at the moment because he hasn't got his players in. Once he's got his players in, maybe I'm allowed to be a bit more critical. But at the moment, he's working with Rowett's players, so it's obviously going to be harder for him. He's going to have his own ideas. We've seen very early on that they're very different to Rowett's methods. So he's trying to get a group of players that he hasn't bought, and I think some of them will be good for his system, but we're seeing some of them aren't natural kind of fits at the moment. Maybe that might change over time. If we can see more of what we saw against Sheffield Wednesday in that first game, and then we also had Sunderland, not the weekend, just gone the weekend before, and we actually played quite well in that game, I thought, to be honest. And another day, we drew the game 1-1. Another day, we definitely would have won that game. So I think there is positive signs there. So I definitely want to get behind him and support what he's trying to do. But at some point, I'm not saying it should be now, but maybe 2-3 months further down the line, if we find ourselves in the position we're in, he might have to sacrifice some of his principles in order to get the results to make sure we can be a 21st at least.
Yeah, your last game was, I believe, was Cardiff, a narrow 1-0 defeat for the Lions. How do you sum up that game against Cardiff at the weekend?
I didn't watch it or go, so I haven't seen all of it. So, but it's just looking at speaking to people that were there, looking at highlights, and just frustrating because there didn't really seem to be too much in it between the two teams. We seemed to be probably just edging it, and then we conceded a really, really poor goal. And our keeper will be the first to put his hands up and go, he should have saved it. So it's really frustrating. It would have been a decent point. Cardiff's a tough place to go. And it would have just built a little bit on what we'd seen against Sunderland in the match before that as well. So it would have been a good point if we'd have got it, but annoyingly we couldn't. And it's just them kind of moments that just aren't quite falling for us at the moment. Maybe they were a little bit last season. Maybe it's luck leveling itself out a little bit. I don't know, but we're just not. Sometimes when we just need that break, it's not quite falling for us at the moment.
Yep. Your next games. Where are we? So your next games, you've obviously Leicester's there, aren't they? Huddersfield, Stoke City. I mean,
and QPR after that as well.
QPR. I mean,
so that's three relegation 6-pointers, huge relegation 6-pointers.
I mean, take away the Leicester game. I mean, them 3 games. How crucial are they as a Millwall supporter? I mean, they're the games you've got to be winning, right, to get yourself away from this sort of relegation battle.
They're absolutely 100%. If you're taking the words straight out of my mouth, you have to be getting points in them games because they're going to be so important wherever you're trying to finish the season. The home games, we always used to see home games even against some of the smaller teams, some of the weaker teams in this league, like Huddersfield. They always used to be the more challenging games for us, and we actually lost to Huddersfield at home last season. That goes into that poor run of form mentioned tail end of last season, which has continued on. It's just that's a huge game, and then you go into Stoke. They're probably going to have a new manager in place, so they're going to have their players up for it. And even though they're so low down in the league, Stoke's always been a tough place to go. It always will be a tough place to go. And then QPR on added spice, obviously being a relegation game, it's a London derby for us, and they're getting their act together. Which out of the bottom 3 or 4 teams, QPR was always my concern because they did have good players. They just had a manager that didn't know how to use the players. But now they've got a good manager. That's obviously a slight concern. So them 3 games are, I don't want to use the term season defining, but I think we'll learn a lot about Joe Edwards and the mindset of the players from what he's seen, because he'll be about 10 games in then, about what they think about him and how the players' confidence is in themselves.
I agree. Key players then, I mean, for you this season, would it be a fair assessment to say Nisbet's your man? He has been scoring the goals, and then you've obviously got Zane Fleming as well, haven't you? Who's been key to Millwall in games as well. Are they the 2 players that you would say stand out for you this season the most?
Hard to really. I mean, I'd probably actually say our best player so far this season has been Casper De Norre, but he's out injured. He's been a class addition midfielder that we signed in the summer from Belgium. He's been brilliant, but he's going to miss this game. He got a really nasty injury to it was in his calf and it spread down to his Achilles. So he's going to be missing for about another month at least, which is a real shame because he's probably been arguably the player of the season so far. Nisbet, another one who came in, had his injuries. So it hasn't been plain sailing for him, but he's just getting back now. He's got a couple of goals since he's been back in the team the last few games. I'm just thinking Edwards might choose not to start him just because we've got 3 huge games coming up. Nisbet's someone who has a track record of injuries in his career. It might just be he might want to minute manage him a little bit. I think Fleming will start just because even though we haven't seen it recently, he's got that moment of magic in him. I mean, he got 14 goals from midfield in his first season in the Championship. It was hoping he was going to kick on. That hasn't quite happened yet this season. But who knows what might happen in the second half. Maybe get a few more players that suit his style around him in January and he might explode back into life again.
Yep. Let's have a look in the comments. I'm going to be a fun game. Pretty sure Leicester will win. That's Tucker, Olivia. It should be a good game. Millwall, Leicester. It always is a game full of goals between the 2 sides. Talk to me about Leicester before we get onto the game itself. Top of the league, 49 points. I mean, who's been your thoughts on Enzo Maresca and Leicester? I mean, obviously a lot of people expect Leicester to go back up, don't they? With the team that have got quality in that. What's been your thoughts on Leicester this season?
I'm just shocked they've managed to hold together the squad that they have, to be completely honest. Some of the players that you've still got playing for you, like Patson Daka had only played. I watched because I didn't go, I had like Soccer Saturday and Final Score, them kind of programs on at the weekend, and the bloke who was doing the Leicester game was like, Patson Daka's only played a minute, and I'm like, well, that's Leicester's third choice striker who's only played a minute so far, and he's probably the third best striker in the division. So yeah, it's quite scary the depth Leicester have got, the strength in depth. I didn't think Leicester would have the players that they still do. Um, but there's also, you've got to get a tune out of these players. We've seen some big clubs come down and then get stuck in this division because the players have decided they don't fancy it. So yeah, in a way, when I saw the squad that Leicester still had on September the 2nd, I was like, yeah, that squad should be going back up. But you've also got to give credit to Enzo Maresca for consistently getting a tune out of the players.
Yeah, I agree. Right then, let's get on to the game itself. Leicester versus Millwall, the midweek at King Power, Wednesday night under the lights. How do Millwall prepare for this game? I mean, we'll get to team selection and that later on. What's your thoughts ahead of this game? How do you guys prepare for this one?
Probably like a lot of teams have probably done, I imagine, coming to the King Power this season. Sit back, try and keep it tight, and then shithouse a 1-0 from a set piece or on a counter attack.
I think that's perfectly summed up for it.
I think that's the only way we can, because we know if we go to Leicester and try and play the ball around, we'll get picked off and you'll just walk straight through us. I'd like to be more upbeat, but it's been as simple as that. When like we played Ipswich the other week, we're obviously second in the league to you guys, and they taught us a good lesson that night. So if they could do that, I'm a bit scared as to what Leicester might do to us. The only comfort for me from the Ipswich game was that I was sitting on my sofa watching it on Sky, whereas I am going to be in the King Power tomorrow night.
But you're obviously need your coat and scarf for that. You know,
yeah, I've just got it all out. Yeah,
got well prepared.
oh yeah.
This game for me, I mean, this is basically like the Sheffield Wednesday game, isn't it? A side who's struggling down near the bottom, a side who you can't take for granted, no matter what side of form they're on. Leicester themselves, though, have got to use their quality to their advantage. You know, we've won the last two, West Brom and Plymouth. I mean, we'll hope to make it 3 wins from 3 tomorrow night. But I do see Millwall sitting back, though, in this game. I think they'll defend as much as they'll feel they need to frustrate Leicester. But the thing is, I don't see you being like Preston, though. Preston just sat back all game. They didn't really come at us as such. I think Millwall will give it a go. And, this is what I like with teams who come to the King Power and give it a go. You know what I mean? Massive respect to teams who do that. But, do you feel it's the scenario of the old cliche of parking the bus for Millwall and trying to salvage a point? Or do you think you can actually go out, give it a go and see what's what?
I think it needs to be somewhere in between. We can't just go there and sit back for 90 minutes, because if you do sit back for the entire 90 minutes, unfortunately, you're probably always going to concede at some point, just because the ball's pretty much going to be in your third the entire game. So I think we've got to try and find the right balance. I think if he might go for, I expect Norton Cuffy will play on the right wing tomorrow, who's quite a pacey player, and I think maybe Watmore might get a start. So maybe them two providing a little bit of pace on the counter attack would be the way I'd possibly be going at this game tomorrow night, to try and give us a bit more of an outlet when we get the ball. But in terms of, I know we'll move on to team selection. I think Edwards has predominantly played a 4-2-3-1, but maybe for this game, maybe Rowett's 5-2-1-2 might be, or 5-2-2-1 might have been a slightly better bet for this game.
Yeah, this is one where we've got to take our chances, when we get them. Plymouth, I mean, we scored 3 goals in 10 minutes at the second half at the start.
If you want to do that in the first 10 minutes so I can get the train home early, then be my guest.
Well, I can't promise you them sort of things. Dan, if you want to get quickly out of Leicester, then that's up to you. But no, I do see it being a good game, to be fair. I think there'll be a game full of goals in this one. Millwall obviously like to challenge, don't they? They like to battle for the ball. They do like to fight for everything, don't they, Millwall? They've always been like that, haven't they, as a team, Millwall? They've been a real gritty side, haven't they? And side who like to take the fight to the oppositions.
Yeah, I think that in a way this might kind of suit us because we've got the underdog tag for this game,
Yeah.
which Millwall usually completely thrive off of. I mean, it hasn't worked out all season. There's going to be times where in the David Goliath situation, David's always going to win a couple of times, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, if any of that Millwall podcast boys are listening, they're going to slaughter me because I'm going to mention Plymouth away. But it just strikes me as the type of game where maybe things might just fall for us on the day, and maybe we'll get one chance, and that might be all we need on the night. That might be all we need.
How do you see the Leicester game, though, compared to the other three? What's coming after? Is Leicester one of them? What you think? Yeah, we're not really concerned in this game as we are the three that's coming up, which are more winnable games for Millwall.
I mean, you want to try and take points from every game, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of how I see the season panning out, I'll judge more off of each individual game, the next three, and obviously the next three collectively, rather than against the three games that we've had before this, so Cardiff, Leicester and Sunderland. That's just how we've got to judge our season. I would like to have been judging our season off the games against Leicester, Sunderland and Cardiff, rather than against the next three teams, but that's just how football works sometimes. So yeah, I mean, in a way, it wouldn't surprise me if Edwards maybe did rest a few players on the basis that the next three games are so important. Maybe he might just choose to rest players like Nisbet who've had their injury problems. Maybe someone like Fleming might not even start just because he hasn't been playing great recently. Maybe taking him out the team might give him a little bit of a kick, ready for the next three huge games. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be judging more of our season off the next three games rather than tomorrow night.
Someone was asking about the FA Cup draw. I mean, thoughts on that one?
I mean, I don't think Leicester. I mean, if you was in the Premier League, like no disrespect, because obviously, I mean, you are pretty much everything a Premier League club by writing. But if you was in the Premier League, I might have been a bit more excited and optimistic. But because we're already going to be playing you twice this season, and probably losing to you twice, I mean, I can't see there being. There's not a huge amount of appetite from Millwall fans for the FA Cup game. To be completely honest, I don't really know what it's like from the Leicester perspective.
Yeah, I think there was a big appetite last time we visited the Den in the FA Cup. Obviously,
Yeah,
you guys done us over in a late fashion. I mean, 1-0.
That was probably one of my favourite. That might even be my favourite ever Millwall game I've been to. So, any chance to mention it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, bloody scenes at the end of it. Let's be honest, and yeah, you know. Them sort of games and them sort of fashion, you obviously don't like that as an opposition fan, do you know what I mean? It's you know, it's your heart sinks, doesn't it, when teams scoring the 90-odd minute and you're thinking, oh, for God's sake, man. And you know, that's one that we remember, because I remember doing the FA Cup draw on here, and they put Millwall at home, and I said, surely not bloody Leicester. I remember last time we played them, I said, you know, we ended up losing 1-0. And Leicester came out, I was thinking, oh, surely this time we can actually go there in the FA Cup and win this one. But no, Millwall's always a tough place to go in the FA Cup, and that, isn't it? Even in the league, you know, the fans get right behind you, you know what I mean? They make it difficult. We won't have Ben Chilwell this time, you know what I mean? Refusing to take a throw in and shitting himself on the side of the pitch. Do you get what I'm saying? We'll actually have someone who can actually go out and take a throw in this time.
I'm delighted as well. Speaking of like personal players and stuff like that, I'm just delighted Jamie Vardy isn't playing tomorrow, because I know he likes taking the mick a little bit with his goal celebrations, doesn't he? So I was half wondering what he would do tomorrow night, to be completely honest.
Yeah, Vardy's not playing, as he's. This game's come too soon for him. I think it'll be. I think this one with Vardy is built up for the Rooney versus Vardy scenario on Monday night, isn't it? When Birmingham take on Leicester. Yeah. So I think that game's more important for Vardy with getting the bragging rights over Rooney on Monday night. But yeah, Vardy's. he's had a great career, hasn't he, as a player? You know what I mean? He's broke
Unbelievable when you think about
records
where he
and
was as well at like age 25. That's almost unheard of to go on and have the career you've had in the next 10 years.
no, Steve Morrison didn't have a bad career, though, did he? Coming from the
No.
conference to doing what he did at Millwall and that.
No. And similarly, one of actually Vardy's former teammates, Lee Gregory, again, didn't end up having a bad career. He was a bit of a late bloomer as well. Didn't go on to tear up as many trees as Vardy, but he's always a player that will always be appreciated by Millwall fans for his work and effort he put in while he was at the club, and some important goals as well.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'd agree with that. Tomorrow's a big game, though. It's a big game. Obviously, Ipswich are on our tails, aren't they? They're 1 point behind us as we speak. Obviously, they play tonight, don't they, against Watford? So, yes, it's about keeping a close eye on that game, including the Leeds game as well. They go to Sunderland. So, yeah, the Championship's kind of like, it's one of them, innit? You can't predict it.
It's a relentless, brutal, and bonkers league, and that's why I said earlier, credit to Enzo Maresca, because so many teams will come down, they won't get back up in that season one, they'll spend loads of money, and then they'll be like, and then all of a sudden the parachute money stops, and then they find themselves just marooned in the middle of the league. I mean, look at Stoke as a perfect example of that. And now they've been kind of not even flirting with anywhere. They've just been kind of in mid-table. I think like 14th has pretty much been their place for the last few years, and I do think they will be fine come the end of the season, but at the moment they're not in a fantastic position at all. And I think there's been so many teams that have done that when they've came down, so it's credit to Enzo Maresca and what he's done at Leicester. But yeah, this is just a bonkers league, this, isn't it? Anything can happen at any given point.
It is. Who'd have expected Ipswich to get to where they are this season and end up breaking the bloody record for the most points after 20 games? Do you know what I mean? I mean, it took, I think it was, Reading. I think it was Reading had only highest points, didn't they?
Yeah.
With 47, I think it was.
You've got to fancy one of you two to break it, I think, this season.
I think Leicester's broke it at the minute. With they're 2 points ahead of it. They've got 49 points. I think Reading had 46 or 47. So, yeah, Leicester's broke it already after 20 games. So, it shows how much Leicester have achieved with the records that have been broken by the Foxes. And they're not bloody little records, are they? They're bloody records that have been quite a few years old.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the head-to-head. First beat 19th, 20 games played, 16-5, 1-6. Let me get that bottom out of the way. 3-9 in defeats. Let's have a look at the Championship head-to-head, Dan. 12 played, 5-6 and 1 draw. I mean, how much do you read into that one? I mean, Millwall seems to be leading the way by one win here.
Gives me a little bit more confidence.
I thought it would.
So yeah, no, I'll take everything I can get at the moment. So yeah, I do. I do remember playing Leicester a few times down the years. Obviously, we've had that FA Cup game. I remember the Carabao Cup a few years ago. I remember the 4-2 in 2011 because that was my first ever away game that I went to. Yeah, that one. That's why I was so keen to come back to Leicester again when they came down, because for me it's a nostalgic away day, and one that, I mean, my dad's not coming tomorrow, but it would have been nice to have shared the moment with my dad again, going back with him. But he can't make it. He's got work commitments, so sadly he won't be there. But we've also I can't remember when it was. It might have been 2014 or 15. We beat you 1-0 on a Friday night. Alan Dunn scored the winner for us. I wasn't there that night, but I remember watching it on telly, and I think that was quite key for us because we was in a battle to stay up.
Let's have a look at the King Power's last 5.
March 2013, that would have been
2013, 3-0. Jamie Vardy, the double that game.
And there goes that little shred of confidence you've just given me.
Millwall obviously won 1-0. 3-0 Millwall, October 2011. 2011, 4-2 to the Foxes. Lloyd Dyer, Sol Bambi, Yakubu on the goals that day, and then a 1-1 draw, 2005. I mean, there's always some goals between the two sides. You know, there's never a sort of thing where you think, oh, this is just going to be a 1-goal game. You know, there's always going to be them moments in the game where goals go in. Let's talk about this game then. last time out in the Championship at the KP. A 3-0 win for the Foxes. There he is, a man like Jamie Vardy. 2 goals in the second half for Jamie Vardy at the double. Obviously, Vardy's still at Leicester. Still bagging in the goals for the Foxes. He might not be playing every game now, but he still contributes quite a lot to the team, and he's still that experienced player you can still count on when you need him the most. And what's been your actual thoughts on Jamie Vardy's career, and how much of a threat is Jamie Vardy as a player? Obviously, he won't be playing against Millwall tomorrow night, so you can, I guess you can be happy with that one, with no shithousery in that. But now, talk to me realistically on Jamie Vardy.
Great player, great career. I think that he could easily have left Leicester in the summer, but he's chosen to stick around. And he's probably in a bit of a different kind of stage now, which I might not have seen Jamie Vardy in a few years ago. Just as the stereotype everyone has of Vardy of being this bloke who drinks vodka and Red Bull the night before games. So, what he's doing there at the moment, still playing, still scoring, and now being a leader both on and off the pitch. I've seen obviously he's worn the armband a few times for Leicester. I still think he's got a lot to give, and I think he could probably, if he could probably still do a job in the Premier League, I would imagine, if he was absolutely required. I know he's probably just starting to lose a yard at that pace. He's 35, 36 now, and he's had a couple of injuries, but he's still, as he's proven in the Championship, he hasn't started every game, but when he's got minutes, he's been lethal.
Yeah, still a bloody menace. Do you know what I mean? Menace to opposition teams and even fans. When fans start singing about his wife this season, he's there to give it back to him. You know what I mean? And vice versa. You know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what football's all about, isn't it? We all love the banter. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
Let's get into foot in both camps. Dan, if you can think of any players who's played for both clubs, please say. We'll start with the first one, Dennis Wise. Obviously, Dennis Wise, it didn't really go well for him at Leicester after him and Callum Davidson's bust up, I think it was. Not the greatest respect for Dennis Wise as a player, to be fair, if you're a Leicester fan.
Very different for Millwall fans, though.
Go on, talk to me about him at Millwall.
He was our player manager in our run to the FA Cup final in 03-04, and then took us into Europe as the player manager the following season. So very much loved by Millwall fans for his work, for what he's done. And there was even a few shouts for him to come back as manager when Rowett left. I don't think that would have been one I particularly would have got behind. Obviously, I know football's changed a lot, but yeah, still a very popular name among Millwall fans, especially his play style as well. He's a perfect Millwall player.
Yep. Danny Gesson. I remember Danny Gesson's first goal for Leicester. I believe Martin Waghorn scored on the same day as Danny Gesson. I can't remember to which team it was now. I don't know if it was Cardiff or someone, but yeah, talk to me about Danny Gesson.
Rubbish. Laziest player I've probably ever seen now. We've seen a few lazy players, but he was certainly up there for the pick of players. Well, I'm going to throw another name into the ring now in Chris Wood.
I like Chris Wood at Leicester.
Yeah, because we had him on loan before he signed for Leicester. Permanent deal. We tried to sign him permanently, and he didn't want to come to us for family reasons and stuff like that. We was all like, it's fine. We got Danny Gesson at the club, ready-made replacement, and scored in his first game and tricked us into thinking he was going to be that striker we needed to maintain our playoff push. When in reality, what happened that season was after Chris Wood left, we sunk like a stone down the table and had to rely on Crystal Palace winning on the final day to keep us up.
But yeah, I remember we signed Danny Gesson from Lincoln City. Next one, DR Dublin. DR Dublin, Leicester lad.
I don't have too many memories of Dion Dublin. It was a little bit before my time, so I don't have too many memories of him.
I think you had him on loan from Aston Villa, I believe. That's what I read. Sean St. Ledger's in there for me. And then you got Martin Waghorn, you've got Barry Hales, you've got Gary Taylor-Fletcher.
Don't scar me with that.
You've got quite a few... the thing is, what Leicester and Millwall, they've got connections, haven't they, who's played for both clubs. You got Gary Rowett as well, obviously played for Leicester, managed Millwall.
Yeah.
Harry Kane, another one.
Yeah, that's a
Been
good
on
one.
loan at both clubs. The England captain.
Hopefully he's going to knock Man United out the Champions League tonight. Another reason then it's just funny to see Man United fans in meltdown.
Steve Claridge, famous goal against Middlesbrough for Claridge.
I believe, I've put it off the top of my head, I think he was the shortest ever manager in Millwall's history.
Oh.
I'm going while you run through the last player, I'm going to go and check that one out now. But I do believe shortest ever manager in Millwall's
And
history.
then we've got Keith Weller as well, a guy who could play midfield or up front. I mean, made appearances for both clubs. I think he made 200 odd for Leicester, 100 odd for Millwall. A good player in his time. Well, I heard of Keith Weller. Obviously, we've got a lounge named after him, the Keith Weller Lounge. So, yeah, that'll bring quite a bit of memories.
And I've just confirmed that Steve Claridge was the shortest manager in Millwall's history.
That's not a stat you want to have at any manager.
No, after boardroom changes, he was relieved of his duties just 36 days after taking charge of the team. Hadn't even played a competitive match.
36 games to be the smallest manager to manage a club.
Not even 36 games, 36 days.
36 days.
Never managed a game.
My bad. That's not bloody long, is it? 36 days. That's just over a month.
Yeah.
It's about 5 weeks. 5 weeks or so. That's not good, is it? Oh dear. To think he was the shortest Millwall manager to ever manage, that says something as well. It obviously looks like the shortest Millwall manager career at all, if you look at it. Not great, Steve Claridge, but did wonders for Leicester on the pitch. Team selection, Dan. How does the formation shape up then in your 11 to play Leicester?
So I sent this into my into the group chat with my Millwall podcast boys the other night. So I'm just gonna pick off the team there. It's kind of a combination of what I think's realistic and what I want him to do as well. So I'd have Sarkic in goal, who hasn't played too much. He's been out injured this season, but he's been brought in to be the number one. So we need to give him a bit of support despite his error at the weekend. I'd have Danny McNamara at right back, who I think as a right back, he's quite solid. Ask him to go forward, he's not very good. But if you ask him to sit back and keep the winger quiet, he could do a good job for you. I'd then have Wes Harding and Jake Cooper in as our centre halves. They seem to be the most common centre back pairing for Millwall this season. In particular, really since start of October, them to have been pretty settled, I think, in the team. So I'd like to see them continue. And then, unfortunately, by default, we've got to play Murray Wallace at left back. Who have you guys got on right wing? Who's your right midfielder usually?
Abdul Fatawu.
He's quite quick, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got skill and all pace.
Yeah, that's going to be a very long night for Murray Wallace. He's teams have pretty much sussed out that you can play, just play down your right-hand side and our left-hand side. That's where, when we lost against Ipswich, that's pretty much where all three of Ipswich's goals came from, when they played down that wing. When we played against Sunderland, they swapped their winger after about an hour, and then that completely changed the game for them. And even the same at Cardiff, they changed their winger at half time and they got a foothold in the game. So, yeah, I mean, the bloke's been a good servant for us, but he's a clear weak point in our team, unfortunately.
So is that your 11 then?
That's the back four at the moment.
Oh, right. I thought you'd finished. I thought you were 5 players on the pitch.
Right, a midfield three of Ryan Leonard, George Saville and George Honeyman. There'll be lots of running in that midfield. Maybe not much else, but plenty of running.
Was that Honeyman who played for Sunderland?
The one that was featured in Sunderland Till I Die quite a lot. Yeah. Yeah, that's him. And then Brooke Norton-Cuffy on the right, Duncan Watmore on the left, and then I'd probably go with Zian Fleming up top. Just I think it's not going to be a game where the striker sees too much of the ball. I think he's got the hold-up quality. I think he's got the skill to be able to go on a run where needed as well. So I think he'd probably be the pick of the strikers for me.
Yeah, Leicester then. Hermanson in goal. Ricardo comes back after his suspension. James Justin will play. Vestergaard, Fass, Harry Winks, Dewsbury Hall, Wilfred Ndidi, Abdul Fatah, Stefan Mavadidi, and Patson Daka. But then we might see Connor Cody come in, so Connor Cody will either replace probably Wout Fast. So
it's not a bad replacement, is it?
well, Connor Cody he's just the figures of Connor Cody I just don't think he's fit enough yet. You know what I mean? He's still coming back from this injury that he had, and it's about getting him the minutes in his legs and that. And obviously midweek games, when you got 3 games in a week, it's good that you can actually like change things up. And then against Sheffield Wednesday, we made 6 changes and ended up drawing 1-1 with them. So it kind of like one of them. Like, should we have gone with our strongest 11 at the start and then started bringing players off when we've seen the game out? But obviously we did it. We did it the other way around, and then bloody Sheffield Wednesday ended up getting a 90 bloody 3rd or 4th minute bloody equaliser, and it's bloody heart sinking. But no, that's my Leicester team. Obviously, Vardy, Iheanacho, McAteer, and Yunus Akgum will not be featuring tomorrow at all. They'll be out for the game, so they'll probably get back for the Birmingham game. Score prediction then, Dan. What's your heart and what's your head saying?
It does feel like the type of game where our luck might just turn. We might just shift. We have a really good habit of pulling out a result when we really need it. So maybe a 1-1. A 1-1.
You go for a 1-1 draw. You take
I'll
a point.
Yeah. I'd snap your hands off for a point right now.
Fantastic. I'm going 3-0. I think we should have enough to see the game through tomorrow and get them 3 points.
As I said, if it is going to be free, get them in nice and quickly because my training is quite long.
A game that we should win, but that's on paper, and you never know what can happen in the game. But now I think we just got to use our quality to our effectiveness tomorrow, and just be clinical, and just go and be aggressive, and stick one on in one-on-one battles and that, because one-on-one battle is going to be key tomorrow, aren't they? Obviously, Millwall like to come and battle hard, so we've got to come and battle as well. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're going to expect to get kicked tomorrow, aren't we? So obviously, Millwall, will kick you, won't they? But you just got to get on with the game, haven't you? You know what I mean, Dan? It's one of them.
We'll try and make it as scrappy as we can.
Millwall can be our best way. Millwall are a tough side when they come. They're a very gritted side and a tight-knitted sort of side. You know what I mean? But yeah, I expect Millwall to come out and give it a good go tomorrow. I don't want them to come and park the bus and sit back. I want them to come out and actually give it a go against us. As a Millwall fan, I'm bricking it. No, I don't brick it. Oh, come on, mate. You don't need to be scared of Leicester. Do you know what I mean? I just want them to come. I just want them to come out and give it a go. Like, Plymouth. Respect to Plymouth. They gave us a good go in the first half. Second half, obviously, weren't what they expected. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna. If we are gonna score 3 goals, Dan, I don't think it's gonna be the way you want it, mate. In the first bloody 10 minutes of the game, so you can go off home early.
I was about to say, yeah. Well, I usually leave when we go 3 goals down, which this season has been. Thank you, Terence. Which this season has been quite the occurrence for me to leave quite early from games. Most notably after Norwich, I left after 57 minutes. So
yeah, it's going to be one of them games tomorrow night. I mean, midweek games are not like bloody Saturday games, and sometimes they can be quite drawn, can't they? You know what I mean? You want it to be entertaining, but sometimes it's cold, and it's just like sometimes it takes time for a goal to go into it at times, and hopefully it's a game full of goals. Hopefully it's an entertaining game between the two sides respectively. Hopefully it'll be a good championship game to go and watch tomorrow. Respect to the 1,000 Millwall fans that will be travelling down to the King Power tomorrow for midweek. We need a goal early. Yeah, it's about scoring that first goal. And I think if we can get that first goal, we just seem to up the pressure a bit more like we did against Plymouth. We just can't allow you chances in the box.
If you get that early first goal, that's going to completely crucify our confidence. The longer it stays 0-0, the more gradually annoyed the Leicester fans will start to get, the more our fans might come into the game. That's when chances might start to open up a little bit for us.
Yeah, sometimes when we're playing it around the bloody bag, teams start to press us in it. Do you know what I mean? To stop us from coming out, and then we start making mistakes. So if Millwall do that against us, they've just got to capitalise on it. But Plymouth did it as well at the weekend. They were the same. They seen us passing it out from the back and that, and then the push player for play, man for man. So we just couldn't get the ball out quick enough. And then, we caused ourselves some bloody problems and then nearly ended up scoring. If it weren't for our goalkeeper making 3 good saves, we could have been bloody drawing at half-time or even behind. But no, I'm expecting a good game. Dan, thanks for coming on, mate. Do appreciate it. All the best for the rest of the season after tomorrow night, of course.
And for the reverse fixture, whenever that is.
Some big games coming up for you lot before you go and play Leicester again in the FA Cup. But now tell everyone where they can find you, mate, and what you do.
So we're That Millwall podcast available pretty much on all the other places that you see scrolling along the bottom there. We're on all of them as well. And the best way I can describe it is just a group of Millwall fans who basically talk about games like we're in the pub, basically assess games like we're in the pub. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Cheers, Dan, mate. Appreciate it, pal.
Cheers, Jack. Thank you very much.
Enjoy Leicester tomorrow night, mate.
I will. Don't worry.
Will do. That was Dan from That Millwall podcast. Great chat. As always, it's good to get opposition fans on, isn't it? Talk football. Great lad. What's coming up on the final whistle then? So we've got the Championship predictions, week 21. Go check that out if you haven't watched it. I know the games are going to be on tonight. And yeah, go see what me and Martin predicted. Hit the like button if you haven't hit the like button already. If you've enjoyed the show, please do it. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, then please do so. It helps out massively. We'll have a match day vlog. So on Thursday morning, it'll be coming out. So we'll be doing it at the game tomorrow and that'll come out Thursday. We'll have the Championship predictions week 22 as well. It'll either be Friday or weekend. And then we'll obviously have the match preview for Birmingham versus Leicester. Or should we call it Rooney versus Vardy? But no, thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Really appreciate it. Take care, mate. See you soon. See you tomorrow. Really appreciate it. See you soon, Terry, mate. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And bye-bye for now. Keep it here. The final whistle. Come on, the Foxes. Hi, all. Thank you for watching the final whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share and subscribe to the channel.